Question 4. What is the distance between A at 5, -1 and B at -7, 4? Okay, you need the distance formula, which, if you don't remember, distance equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, and your 2 points are given in the problem, A and B, so this would be x1, y1, and x2, y2. From here you just substitute in. So the distance equals the square root of x2, which we wrote above the -7, so -7 minus x1 of 5 squared plus y2 would be 4 minus a -1 squared. Now if you look where we wrote y2 minus y1, that's a 4 minus a -1, so that actually cancels. Negative times negative makes it positive, 4 plus 1. And now you're just simplifying, so the distance equals the square root of -7 minus 5, which gives you -12 squared, plus 4 plus 1 is 5 squared. Distance equals the square root of -12 times -12 is 144, plus 5 times 5 is 25. So the distance equals the square root of 169, which is actually a perfect square. When you take that square root, you get the distance equals 13. Option B. Question 5. Write an equation for the line perpendicular to y equals 2x minus 5 that contains the point -9, 6. Okay. So remember that your slope for a perpendicular line is going to be the opposite reciprocal from your original equation. In our original equation, the slope is the coefficient or the number that comes before the x, so 2. So the opposite reciprocal, m, your slope, equals -1/2 for our new equation. Okay. We also are given through the point -9, 6, which is going to be your x1, y1. And the formula you need is the point slope, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And now we're just substituting in y minus, and that y1 comes from right here, our point, y minus 6 equals our slope here, -1/2 times x minus that -9. Well, negative times negative makes positive, so just to clean that up, y minus 6 equals -1/2 times x plus 9, which makes our answer also B. Question 6. Which answer choice best describes these two equations? 5y equals -1 minus 3x, and 5y equals -3x minus 6. And we're able to tell all of that based on their slopes. Okay, so we need them to be in slope intercept. They need to be in y equals something. Okay, so if we start with the first one, you've got 5y equals negative 1 minus 3x. You can't have that 5 as a coefficient in front of the y. You need to get rid of it. So to cancel it, you're multiplying. So we're going to divide by 5. You divide everything on one side as well as the other. So divide negative 1 and the minus 3x. This is canceled. So you have y equals negative 1/5 minus 3/5 x. That's for this first one, first equation. For the second equation, you have 5y equals negative 3x minus 5. And you'll notice that we also have that coefficient of 5. So we also need to divide it to cancel. Divide everything by that 5. This cancels. Y equals negative 3/5x minus, and negative 5/5 turns into a negative 1. And then if you look, the number in front of the x is a negative 3/5, and this one is also a negative 3/5. So they are the same coefficient in that case. They are parallel. Their slopes are the same. Question 7. Plot A, B, and C. Which of the line segments are perpendicular to each other? So A is at negative 1, 1. B is at 3, 5. And C is at 4, negative 4. Okay. If we connect the points, make line segments. Remember, being perpendicular means they have opposite reciprocal slopes and they meet at 90-degree angles. Okay, so if we look at segment AB and BC, those should have opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay. So the slope of AB, okay, M would equal, remember again, the formula for slope is M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so y2 5 minus 1 over 3 minus a negative 1, which equals 4 over 4, slope of 1, the slope of AC, M equals negative 4 minus 1 over 4 minus a negative 1 equals negative 5 over 5, which equals negative 1. And finally, BC, M equals negative 4 minus 5 over 4 minus 3. Negative 4 minus 5 is a negative 9 over 4 minus 3 is 1. So the slope of this line is a negative 9. And the only two on here that are opposite reciprocals are AB at positive 1 and AC at negative 1, which is answer B. Question 8. Find the equation of the line that is parallel to the line passing through the points 3, 2, and 4, 5. Okay. Again, remember the slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the slope intercept equals y equals mx plus b. Actually, we don't need that. You need the slope, point slope, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so to find the slope, you plug the points in, x1, y1, x2, y2. So y2 is 5 minus y1 of 2 divided by x2, 4 minus 3. 5 minus 2 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1, so your slope is just 3. And if you look at your answer choices, only one of those has a 3 in it. But if it more than one, to finish, okay, you would substitute into y minus your y1 equals m times x minus x1, and it doesn't matter which point you pick, so y minus 2 equals 3 times x minus 3, and you'll need to substitute all of that, or reduce it. Okay, so you distribute your 3 through here. Y minus 2 is 3x minus 9. Add 2 to both sides. Y equals 3x minus 7. And the only equation that has the slope of 3 would be b.